Matthew chapter 27. The trial and death of Jesus. Beginning from verse 1. The next morning, all the leading priests and elders schemed against Jesus, seeking an authority to award him the death penalty. And so they shackled him and took him away, eventually handing him over to Pontius Pilate, who was governor of Rome. Now Judas the traitor saw that Jesus had been condemned. Shattered, he felt very sorry and penitent, and he returned the 30 silver coins to the leading priests and the elders of the nation. And he told them, "I have acted very wrongly by betraying an innocent person like this." And they replied, Judas, "What business of ours is that? You take care of that, brother." Judas was quite upset, and he threw down the silver coins in the holy temple and went out. He left the place and hanged himself in regret. Then the leading priests took the silver coins and said, "This is no longer good money, but blood money. Clearly, it is unlawful to put such money in the treasury of the holy temple." And so they met, deliberated, and reached a consensus concerning the money. And then they used it to purchase the potter's field, a burial ground for foreigners. That field was named the Field of Blood, and it retains that name to this present day. And the word of God's envoy, Jeremiah, was accomplished. They picked up the 30 pieces of silver, the amount of money the nation of Israel had consented to pay for him, and they purchased the potter's field with the cash. And the Lord God had ordered me, as the Lord God had ordered me. At this point, Jesus was standing before the governor of Rome. The governor questioned him, asking, "Are you the monarch of the Jews?" And Jesus replied, "You have so proclaimed." But while Jesus was being accused by the leading priests and elders of the nation, he did not say a word. So Pontius Pilate asked him, "Do you not hear all these accusations they bring against you?" But Jesus remained quiet and did not say a word. The governor was quite astonished. At every Passover festival, it was somewhat essential for the Roman governor to set free one captive to the people. At that time, there was a very notorious criminal who had been incarcerated. His name was Barabbas. And so when the people were assembled, Pontius Pilate asked them, "Which captive do you want me to release to you this Passover? Barabbas or Jesus, known as the Christ?" For he was quite aware that the Jewish rulers mistreated Jesus because they were envious. While Pontius Pilate was seated deliberating in the hall of judgment, his spouse sent a message of caution to him. "Have nothing to do with that holy man. Do not listen to the cries of his enemies, for I endured many things today in a vision on account of him." But the leading priests and the elders of the nation convinced the masses to pressure Pontius Pilate to release Barabbas and award Jesus the death penalty. Now Pilate, the governor, asked the throngs of people, "Which of the two captives do you want me to dismiss his offense and release to you this Passover?" And they replied, "Barabbas." And Pilate asked the masses, "Now, what shall I do with this man, Jesus, also known as the Christ?" And they all replied, "Crucify him." So the governor asked, "Why? What offense has he committed?" But they started yelling and yelping, Crucify him. When Pontius Pilate observed that they had absolutely no possibility of prevailing in the trial of Jesus, he had no possibility of prevailing in the trial of Jesus, but that a riot was imminent instead, he got some water and washed his hands clean before the throng and declared, I am not responsible for the blood of this holy man. You people are responsible. The entire throng replied, may his blood be upon us and upon our offspring. At that point, Pilate freed Barabbas, and he returned to his people. He had Jesus lashed and handed over to the executioners to be crucified. Next, the combat troops of the governor led Jesus into the praetorium and assembled the entire squad around him. The forces stripped off his garments and robed him in scarlet, and they made a crown from thorny vegetation and put it on Jesus' head. And they placed the staff in his right hand, and they knelt down in front of him and teased him. Hail, grand monarch of the Jews, they said. Long live the monarch, long live the monarchy. And they spat on Jesus, snatched the staff from him, and struck him cruelly on the head. After teasing Jesus, they removed the robe, gave him his own clothing to wear, and took him away to be crucified. And as they proceeded, they met a man called Simon, who was a citizen of Cyrene. They caught him and forced him to carry the cross after Jesus. After a while, they arrived in a place called Golgotha, meaning the area of the skull. And they brought Jesus a mixture of sour wine and very bitter gall to drink. He tasted it and immediately rejected the drink. And so they crucified Jesus and shared his clothing, casting lots, that the word might be accomplished which was uttered by God's special envoy. They shared among them my garments, and for my coat they did cast lots. And they sat down and guarded the entire area where Jesus was crucified. Above Jesus' head, they placed an inscription of the accusation brought against him. Here is Jesus, the monarch of the Jews. Two thieves likewise were crucified with Jesus, a thief on either side, one on the right and the other on the left. And the people who passed by sneered at Jesus. They abused him and shook their heads. And they told him, you who ruined the holy temple and restore it in only 3 days, rescue yourself there. If you are truly the Son of the living God, come down now from the cross. Similarly, the leading priests, the authorities of the law, and the elders of the nation teased him rudely. He saved others, yet he cannot save himself. If he is monarch over Israel, let him come down from that cross right now, and we will all believe in him. He trusted in the Lord God, and he told the people, I am the offspring of the Lord God. Let the Lord God rescue him now, if he is interested in him. Even the thieves who were crucified on the left and right of Jesus scorned him likewise. At this time, it was just about the 6th hour, 12 noon, and darkness covered the whole world until approximately the 9th hour, 3 p.m. Then about the 9th hour, that's 3 p.m., Jesus shouted with a very loud voice, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, meaning, my God, why do you forsake me? Some people who were standing in the area heard Jesus' voice and said, this man is invoking Elijah. At once, One of them quickly got a sponge, filled it with vinegar, placed it on his staff, and raised it to his mouth. But his companions told him, "Wait a minute. Leave him for a while. Let's observe if Elijah will arise and rescue him." And once more, Jesus wailed with a resounding voice, after which he departed. At that point, the veil hanging in the holy temple was completely ripped in two, lengthwise, and there was a tremor throughout the world, and the rocks were divided and fell apart, and the tombs were freely opened, and many of the saints who had died were raised back to life. Proceeding from the tombs after Jesus had resurrected, they entered the holy city and were seen by large multitudes. The centurion and his companions keeping watch and guarding Jesus witnessed the tremor and everything that happened. They were somewhat frightened and said, "Surely this was the offspring of the Lord God." And there were many women who came from Galilee. They followed Jesus and helped him as much as they could. At this time, they were standing nearby, clearly observing everything. Most notable were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the spouse of Zebedee. By evening, there came a wealthy man, Joseph of Arimathea, who was a secret follower of Jesus. Joseph proceeded and appealed to Pilate that he might remove the body of Jesus, and Pilate gave him the authority to do so. Joseph took the body of Jesus and wrapped it in a decent linen sheet, and placed it in a new sepulchre which he had personally hewn out of solid rock. Finally, he rolled a great stone against the opening of the sepulchre and left. Mary Magdalene was present, and another Mary was also present. They were both sitting facing the sepulchre. The following day was a Sabbath day. The leading priests and the Pharisees assembled before Pontius Pilate, and they told Pilate, "Sir, we recall that while that Jesus was still living, the liar declared, 'In 3 days I will rise back to life.' So, order that the sepulchre be well guarded until at least the 3rd day, to prevent his followers from coming secretly, vandalizing the place, and removing the body, and then telling the people that Jesus is risen back to life. Thus, the final deception will surely be worse than the initial lie." So Pilate told them, "I'll give you a guard for the place. Go, make the sepulchre as safe and secure as possible." And so they proceeded and thoroughly secured the sepulchre. They plastered the rocks and placed the guard on high alert.